This is a reading of the text British and Russian Imperialism, Part 1 by James Connolly, published in the Workers' Republic newspaper on the 3rd of September, 1898, and transcribed and marked up by Ando Callahan for the Marxist Internet Archive, where it's currently hosted, where I'm reading it, and where you can read it yourself and read texts by James Connolly and by many other Marxists of all sorts. This is Part 1. It is a very short text. Part 2 will be released later, and hopefully I will link to that as well in this YouTube video. But that's enough for my introduction. On with the text. His Imperial Highness, the Tsar of all the Russias, has issued a manifesto in favor of universal disarmament. This is the silly season. His rule is founded on the sword and can only be maintained by the sword, and whatever seriousness there is in his latest pronouncement may be translated into an appeal to his brother despots throughout Europe to cease warring with each other in order that their hands may be free to throttle the infant liberty in their own dominions. Humanitarians indeed. Will Russia withdraw her troops from Warsaw and depend only on the loyalty and affection of the Poles? The Tsar, we repeat, is having his little joke. He speaks today of universal peace, in order that when, in the near future, he hurls his armies across the frontier into China, India, or Constantinople, or whelms in blood the aspirations for freedom on the part of his own subjects, he may be able to point to this action of his as proof that the battle was not of his seeking. From the cabinets of every European government, all the other conspirators against the freedom of the human race echo his cry, and even while they are ordering new armaments and equipping new fleets, protest the intensity of their desire for peace. 'Twas ever thus. But universal disarmament is not a dream. The day will come, and perhaps like a bolt from the blue, when the frontiers will not be sufficient to prevent the hand clasp of friendship between the peoples. But that day will come only when the kings and kaisers, queens and czars, financiers and capitalists who now oppress humanity will be hurled from their place and power, and the emancipated workers of the earth, no longer the blind instruments of rich men's greed, will found a new society, a new civilization, whose cornerstone will be labor, whose inspiring principle will be justice, whose limits humanity alone can bound. And that's the end of the text. It was a nice short one, arguing that peace is not achievable under capitalism, which is of course true, and it ends with some nice hopeful sentences that I enjoyed reading. And that's all for my commentary. I'll say, again, I will record part 2 of this very shortly and hopefully link to that here. It's another short article that probably picks up where this one leaves off. I think it was published 1 week later or very shortly after. Yeah, exactly 1 week later. Anyway, that's all for this ending commentary, and as always, don't forget, ruthless criticism of all things.